out in the middle of the woods. I love the term stewardship. I think being a good psychedelic citizen also involves being a good psychedelic steward. So like stewardship, definition, is the careful and responsible management of something that's been entrusted in one's care. And if we are going to be stewards to the psychedelic community, it's important for us to be careful and responsible and have like an action plan of management. And so stewardship broadly refers to a form of collaborative planning and responsible management of the environment through sustainable natural resource management practices that respects ecosystem functions. And so we are working in a collaborative team. We are planning together around our psychedelic use. We are looking at sustainable natural resources, and we are like maintaining the ecosystem. So we are not over-consuming, and we are not we are not over-consuming substances. We are sourcing them in a responsible manner. We are asking people who we are getting our substances from, where they're being produced, how they are being produced, especially around peyote. None of us as non-native indigenous people should be consuming peyote, especially peyote in the wilds. It takes a very long time to grow. We will run out of it soon. And so there's a great effort in Texas. There's a peyote restoration project on like a large piece of land where they're growing for the native community and trying to protect it as a resource. There are also peyote growing at the Shulgin farm. There's peyote growing in different places. I know people who cultivate it. It takes about 25 years to go from seed to a mature plant that can be consumed. Very long time. Same thing with ayahuasca. Responsible cultivation of plant medicine. The great thing about psilocybin is it grows fast and plentiful, and it is something that we probably won't run out of based on the way that mushrooms grow. And so making sure that when we're consuming substances, ideally, the drug war is the drug war. Things like cocaine is rarely responsibly, sustainably cultivated, and I think the way for us to have a safer drug supply is to ask a lot of questions. And I think that there are people who work in the underground who don't like being asked a lot of questions. And that's kind of one of my like psychedelic safety red flags, where if somebody, there are organizations and communities out there that are knowingly misleading people into the substances what they're giving people. They have nicknames for things, which I hate. We should all be using the chemical name of the substance and not nicknaming it like unicorn or nicknaming it like heart opening, like heart medicine. And it's like, okay, well, is that heart medicine Kana, or is that heart medicine MDMA, or is that heart medicine MDA? Like, what is it? And if you have a
That reminds me of like the 2C movement going on in South America, where it's like a snortable pink drug and they all just call it 2C, like 2CB, but it's just a cocktail.
Or it's 2CI, or it's 2CE, or
And it just makes random stuff too inside the 2C.
Correct. There's a great website, drugsdata.org. I don't know if it's on your resource list. Also, drugsdata.org. You can take your drugs and go on their website, fill out an information form, pay them. They will give you a randomized serial number. You mail in your drug sample to them. They will run it through a mass spec, and they will tell you exactly what is in that pill or that bag of powder or whatever it is. And it takes about 3 weeks, and they will publish that information on their website with the serial number.
What is that called?
Drugsdata.org. I think it's $150 to send in a sample. But the thing that is really useful about that is, especially with MDMA and pressed pills of MDMA, they are made in very large batches. And so let's say I, here in Aspen, find somebody who sells me a blue Tesla or an orange Tesla pressed pill of MDMA. I could go on drugs data and be like, has anyone from the Colorado area sent in an orange Tesla in the past 6 months? Because most likely that you're getting in that same time period and regional location will be like, okay, I can make the assumption that if somebody sent in an orange Tesla from Aspen, Colorado 3 weeks ago, and it's now published on the website, that this one that I got in Aspen, Colorado is probably from the same batch. And you can make you make that assumption, or you can send a pill in for testing, and figure out what is exactly in that pill and how strong it is. MDMA pressed pills greatly vary in strength. I've seen pressed pills, like a single pill that has up to 500 milligrams of MDMA in it. That means you're only supposed to take a quarter of it. But people at raves will just pop the whole thing in their mouth and then have a medical incident.
How much did you say?
500 milligrams. I've seen them with very strong, like double stack, triple stack pills. And we have young consumers who don't know how to test their drugs, and they trust whatever their friends give them, and have like big medical incidents. Psychedelic uses, recreational, often polysubstance, polypharm, ceremonial, usually indigenous or shaman facilitator led in a group format. I've seen ayahuasca circles that are up to 50 people in them. I think that's a large number of people. I like, especially in group experiences, even in in recreational like home spaces, once you get above 20 people, usually that group will split into two. And so if you want everybody kind of on the same page, like 10 to 12 people is like an ideal number. But then what ends up happening, if you have more than that, the conversations will split and people will be having different experiences. And so looking at, small groups of people, if you're gonna have like a shared intentional experience. Psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, there's active clinical trials and underground facilitators. There are a lot of underground facilitators that are ethical, that are in supervision groups, that are doing it right, that are like, and so I don't knock underground facilitators. My biggest issue with the psychedelic underground is people who maintain their clinical licenses and work in the underground. The reason I have my own personal bias against that is because if you have a clinical license, you agree to a code of ethics that I will not participate in illegal activity with my clients. Therefore, if you are participating in illegal activity with your clients while maintaining a clinical license, you already have one line with them. And so if you want to work in the underground, I say give up your clinical license. And then you're an underground facilitator and you're no longer in like a discordant relationship with your licensure process. And so people have done it. Some people, I know a lot of people who are licensed who still do underground work, and I've worked too hard for my clinical license to compromise it. And so I don't work in the underground. I don't pretend to do psychotherapy with substances I'm not allowed to do psychotherapy with yet, which is very challenging because I've seen a lot of people who have left their industry to be able to go do these things, and fully respect that, fully want that to continue to exist and flourish. But the telling people that you're doing something with them, but then also telling your licensed board that you're not doing that, immediately puts you in one small white line. And so I think there's a establishment of trust around that, where I'm going to speak the truth, and if I'm lying in one area, then am I trustworthy? And so that's what it brings up for me. That's my own bias. Intentional use, microdosing. A lot of people are microdosing these days. A microdose is sub-perceptual. A microdose is very small, that it doesn't impact, you don't really feel any of the effects of microdosing. There is small dosing, which is, taking a quarter gram or a half gram of mushrooms where you're still pretty functional, but like I wouldn't consider that a microdose. And then problematic use where your substance use is negatively impacting